Ed here with the Digital Digest, and today I wanted to share a quick unboxing and first look at the Corsair K65 RGB mini gaming keyboard. Now this is, like all 60% mechanical gaming keyboards, expensive for what you are getting at $110 US, and I did purchase this. It just started shipping, and the reason that I purchased this is why many people are interested in 60% mechanical gaming keyboards. Essentially, the concept is to deliver all of the performance you would get with a traditional gaming keyboard. After all, at this price point, you could certainly get one. But, of course, this comes in at a much smaller form factor, 60%. So it is really a matter of whether or not you're looking for something that is great for travel, as well as the general benefit of not having it take up much room on your desk. So if you're in tight quarters, or again, just want a really clean workspace, and you're comfortable using something like this, it might be ideal. But there are some caveats. Of course, you do have to get accustomed to using a keyboard this small. Also, to my knowledge, this does not have the ability to be adjusted in terms of its height. There are no feet on this other than the fixed rubber ones, so be aware of that. Of course, compatibility listed right there, PC, Mac, and Xbox One. The other thing about this is that it has a 4,000 hertz polling rate. So really, we're expecting, or I should say I am expecting, some phenomenal performance from this, and that is the promise from Corsair. Cherry MX switches, and again, you can customize the keycaps any way you like. It's really a matter of personal preference. And ultimately, again, I hope that a wireless version of this emerges, but for the time being, this is where we're at in 2021. Which is impressive. And, you know, many of you out there might be scratching your head why anyone would even want one of these. But as I stated, from a portability standpoint, as well as, again, keeping your desk incredibly clean and just a sleek form factor or a tight workspace, that's where this is going to, I think, be ideal. So there you have it. Incredibly small. I mean, it's not 60%, noted for no reason. It really is adorable. But again, it may outperform, in fact, it will outperform the majority of gaming keyboards on the market, which is pretty bonkers. Your Type-C port right there at the back, of course, which is for the included Type-C cable to connect this to your system. And that's pretty much it. My serial number is already peeling off, which is bizarre considering this just came off the assembly line. And as I was mentioning earlier, no feet. I mean, it's just these rubber bumps. I wish they did give us some form of adjustability. But again, if like me, you're already heavily vested in Corsair, which I have been for years, and this of course does support iCUE, which my whole desktop is tied into. So it's just, should be beneficial, but we'll see. I've also got another new Corsair accessory coming in soon, which I'll be sharing on the channel. But, let's see what else is in here. I mean, there's not a lot else. We've got our paperwork, which I'm not going to dive into right now. And then last, but certainly not least, the actual cable, as well as the keycap removal tool, and of course, a regular space bar in case you're not interested in this design, which I'm personally not really too keen on. And that's pretty much it. And that's the removal tool right there. Standard practice for those of you that are already familiar with Corsair or any mechanical gaming keyboard for that fact, or for that matter of fact. It is a braided cable, if you're wondering. And I'm not exactly sure on the length of this, but I'm assuming it's got to be roughly 6 feet at least. Hopefully, if it's not, it's a little bit less. It also, and this is an interesting little fact, you can see secondary functions are laid out across all of the keys on the cap, on the sidewall of the cap, so you can see that. And that's pretty awesome. And that's part of the idea here too, is that besides it being high performance and having Cherry MX switches, again, that may be to your liking or not. I'm sure more flavors will emerge, but the idea is to still retain all of the functionality, maybe even more, than you would generally expect. But again, this incredibly small form factor, which is just really, really nice. It's loud, but considering, I've got a K70 that's as loud, if not louder, K95, and then my favorite keyboard right now is still the Logitech 915, because from a wireless perspective, really hard to beat that. I think the only thing that beats it is the white version, which I wish Logitech had launched before I bought the black-gray version that was their initial release. But ultimately, again, if they do end up releasing something like this, whether it's Corsair, Logitech, any reputable manufacturer, of course, Razer as well, in a wireless flavor, I'll be right there. Now, it looks like some of these keys are a little bit off, but that could just be my line of sight. I don't know. But either way, it's going to be fun to test this out. And for me, it's not, even though I mentioned travel, that's not why I purchased this. I'm not going to LAN parties, whether there's a pandemic or not my thing, never has been. It's really a matter of, I have a secondary workspace, especially through the pandemic, where it's a little bit tighter than here in the studio. And in the event I want to actually do any gaming, this seems like an ideal solution. Now, just for shits and giggles, I'm going to go ahead and plug in, I'm just going to power it and see if it just takes power from a 60 watt Type-C cable I have right here. And it should, maybe not. So I thought maybe it would. Actually, let's make sure that's actually hooked up. And that's just my HP 65 watt charger. The other thing, if I didn't mention it, 8 megs of storage on board, so 50 profiles. I think I did mention that. If I didn't, now I am. So 50 profiles, 20 different lighting layers. I mean, it's pretty dynamic, and that's what makes something like this unique, again, if it's something that you're looking for. So it looks like this is actually, looks like my backup system is off, so let me just check that out, because I would like to be able to show everyone exactly what we're working with here. That appears to be the reason, so that should take care of it. Let's see if it kicks on. Should come on now. And we should get some output here. If not, then we'll just save it for the update. But either way, it is an impressive little piece of kit, and I'm just excited to get using it and see how it performs, and whether or not, or how quickly I should say, I get used to actually typing on this, because it is, I mean, again, for scale, I don't have incredibly large hands. So, I mean, it's telling. Another good thing for scale, here is a Sony Z-Type battery, and you start to realize, it's bonkers. It's really, really small. And unfortunately, I'm not pulling power there. I don't know why, but it could also be just because this is not going to drive it. So one last test, I'll actually use their included cable, which I could have started with to begin with. I will go ahead and just plug this in. And also, you're going to want to update firmware, IQ software, all of that. I'm going to have to go through that when this video is over, obviously, and see where that takes us. But I'm glad they opted for Type-C. I mean, that sounds obvious, but in a world of not obvious, it's not obvious. A lot of manufacturers still don't do the right thing when it comes to using Type-C. But it would be kind of beyond reproach for Corsair to bring this to market and not employ Type-C at this point. Let's just see. So if I still don't pull anything here now, I got to make sure that that port is powered, which I believe it is. So in this event, it looks like we're not going to get anything, and this is why the 65 watt wasn't delivering anything until I actually get inside IQ and get this baby running. So stay tuned for an update on this. I will deliver one and give some, of course, final impressions and thoughts about whether or not the K65 RGB Mini is worth picking up if you're in the, of course, market for a 60% mechanical gaming keyboard. But very cool. I just got to remove this guy because I'm not really in love with, I forget what they call this design, but it's a little strange looking for my taste. Anyway, hope you enjoyed the video. Any questions or comments, please feel free to post them. Hit that like button. And as usual, please feel free to subscribe and please stay safe. Later.